Welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk, Uygur, and Kasparian with you guys. Today's show is really, really important. There's a couple of topics in here that you've got to see. So first of all, I think the situation in Israel now is as dangerous as it has ever been. And now I'm not just talking about the Palestinians, I'm talking about the Israelis. I think things have taken a turn. We'll talk about it in a second. I think it's a danger to the entire planet. Okay, later, a story that is so perfectly symbolic of America today and the political system today. You must see it. And then in the bonus episode, Trump versus Obama, and how do they speak? It starts out as a super funny clip, but what it winds up is showing you exactly how modern politics works and what the Democratic Party doesn't understand. So a lot to get to today. Don't miss any of it. Anna, let's get started.
Well, we begin with yet another mass casualty airstrike that took place in Gaza. Let's get to the details.
You knew there were civilians there, you knew there were refugees, all sorts of refugees, but you decided to still drop a bomb on that refugee camp, attempting to kill the Hamas commander.
The latest mass casualty event in Gaza that was in fact carried out by the Israeli Defense Forces happened at the Jabalia refugee camp, where the Palestinian Health Ministry claims at least 50 people were killed. Now that was according to initial reporting, but subsequent reporting has said that the death toll has increased, and we don't have an exact death toll at the moment. But it is important to keep in mind that the IDF has already taken responsibility for this airstrike, which has caused a lot of pain, death, and destruction. Before we get to the response to Wolf Blitzer's question by the IDF spokesperson, I think it's important to learn more details about this airstrike by the IDF at this refugee camp in the Gaza Strip. Let's watch.
At least 50 people are said to have been killed and many more injured in a blast at the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza. Well, those figures come from the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry, which also says the camp came under Israeli fire. We're yet to hear from the Israeli military. The BBC is still establishing the details. Pictures from the scene, as you can see, show people searching for survivors and pulling bodies from the rubble.
Jabalia, in case viewers are wondering, is the largest of the refugee camps in the Gaza Strip, home to around 120,000 people before this war began, packed into an area of about 1.5 square kilometers. It's not tents, it's buildings that have been there for decades and tightly packed streets. And we think, judging by the number of people who are there looking in the rubble to try and find bodies and survivors, there are still hundreds, maybe thousands of people still in the area.
Which is part of the reason why we don't know what the exact death toll is at the moment. But I will share with you what has been reported so far. Since that report by the BBC was published, the IDF came out and took responsibility for that airstrike with absolutely no remorse, given the high number of Palestinian civilian casualties. Israel claims that they were targeting a single Hamas commander, and they claim that they have killed him. Although, considering the backlash they're getting for this airstrike, which has killed at least dozens of civilians, I think that they would want to put out that they accomplished their mission in killing that one Hamas commander. I'd like to see more confirmation of that from a third party. I don't really trust the IDF. They have been known to lie about these types of airstrikes in the past. Now, Israeli Defense Forces on Tuesday claimed the airstrikes killed Ibrahim Biari, the commander for Hamas's Central Jabalia battalion, along with neutralizing an estimated 50 other terrorists. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, they call them terrorists because they're liars. So no one should believe the idea. No one in their right mind should believe a government's like not even defense, but offensive shock troops that go in and kill innocent civilians thousands at a time and then claim that everyone they killed is a terrorist. When America does it, it's absurd. When Saudi Arabia does it, it's absurd. But it's not absurd when Israel does it. No, if you think that, you're being enormously biased. Now, here's another thing that people still claim all over the place. And I get it, it's old talking points and it's hard to get past old talking points, old way of thinking and identity, okay? That's just the reality. But people going around saying it's not an occupation. Well, what the hell is it? What are all those refugee camps? Why do the Palestinians hate the Israelis so much? Oh, because they're just generally anti-Semitic? Like having nothing to do with the fact that for 56 years, they've been living in refugee camps and in open air prisons, and they can't control their own water, power, electricity. They can't have dignity, respect for themselves at any point. A bomb, did you see the size of that bomb? We have eyes, we can see. Israeli propaganda and American propaganda is not working anymore. No one is buying that crap other than the dumb people in Washington who think, oh, we're just gonna get everybody on cable news to say Israel is awesome and the Palestinian lives don't matter, that they're scrubby little savages and we're allowed to murder them 24/7. It's not working. The rest of us are enraged, okay? And look at how badly it's falling apart. Even Wolf Blitzer, who basically worked for AIPAC, is now questioning the IDF. You've got Wolf Blitzer questioning the IDF. You're losing the people. You know why you're losing the people? If you're the right-wing government of Israel or the current right-wing government of America, I don't care what you call yourself, you're a right-wing or if you're in favor of this savagery. You're losing people because you are wrong. It is an occupation. It is brutal. It is oppression. Look at the size of that crater. Okay. I want to ask you guys, please be honest with yourselves, no matter what side you're on. Let's say you've got a terrible guy, and I'll make it as extreme as possible, killed your family. How mad would you be? I'd be super mad. And then they say, okay, that bad guy has 50 civilians around them. Innocent people, moms, dads, kids, grandmothers. Do you murder those 50 people to get the bad guy?
There's a significant portion of this country and almost the entirety of our United States government who say yes, yes, we do.
The entire US government, other than Rashida Tlaib and Bernie Sanders a tiny bit, are saying murder, 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 murder the civilians. Because Israel has a right to defend itself by killing all those civilians. No, you don't. That's not what, you have a right to defend yourself, but not by killing innocent civilians. By the way, if you don't like that fact, I'm gonna tell you something that's gonna shake your worldview, and then you're gonna hate me for it, but it is inarguable. That is exactly what Hamas says. Hamas says I have a right to murder your civilians because they are oppressing me. And we live under occupation, we can't control our borders, we can't control anything. And look at what you do to my people. You kill us at 4 times the rate we kill you. You kill us 10 times, 100 times the rate we kill you. And we're the terrorists? And by the way, the correct answer to that is yes, they are the terrorists. But if you are 4 times worse than the terrorists, what does that make you? So I know these things are deeply uncomfortable, but good, I wanna challenge you. I want to challenge you, who are you? Are you a moral person? I would never kill 50 innocent people, no matter how mad I am, no matter how deep that injustice is, and no matter how much it affected me. I am a decent enough person to not murder 50 innocent people, let alone the 8,000 that you have killed so far.
Now, Cenk,
the 8,000 that you have murdered so far. I don't care what you call it. When you say, oh, I got 13 Hamas guys and I killed 8,000 civilians, that is not, oops, collateral damage. Oops, there was nothing I could do. No, you purposely killed those innocent civilians. What does that make Israel? Do not let Netanyahu or the right-wing government of Israel do this to the moral fiber of Israel. Right now, the whole world is looking on with unbelievable disgust and can't believe what they're doing. It's one thing when a terrorist group does it. There's nothing we can do about a terrorist group. We're all against terrorist groups. But when a government does it,
with our money and our weapons,
it is righteous, I am moral, I murdered those people out of morality. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. And the whole world right now is going, Israel, you've got to stop. If you don't stop, this whole thing is gonna boil over. And now it's no longer just about the deep, deep immorality of the occupation. Now I'm significantly worried about Israel. The Houthis from Yemen are coming in. Are you guys nuts? You're gonna have the whole world attack you? Get rid of Netanyahu today. You're on the brink of absolute disaster. And then for the first time in my lifetime, an existential danger for Israel. Turn around, as a friend and an ally, I'm telling you, you have to turn around. If you don't turn around now, you're in mortal danger. But no, go ahead, kill more, kill more, kill more, kill more, and see how that works. It's gonna work terribly. It's gonna work terribly, and it's endangering everyone inside Israel, let alone those poor, poor Palestinians. And if you don't think they're poor Palestinians and you don't care about them, I'm sorry, but you're a terrible person. If you say innocent lives, I don't care because they're Palestinian, you're a terrible person. That's reality. If you don't like it, that's a sad day for you.
So it wasn't just one airstrike. The Associated Press has more information on what happened here. They reported that at least 6 Israeli airstrikes hit residential dwellings in the heart of the refugee camp on the outskirts of Gaza City, citing the Hamas-run Interior Ministry.
Yeah. Every time there's an excuse, kill hundreds, thousands of civilians. Oops, we did it again. What a mistake. No one is buying that crap. The only people that buy it are people in Washington who would like to make more money for defense contractors and oil companies. No one else is buying that crap. The whole world is united in saying, don't do it, Israel. Don't do it, you're much stronger. Do not keep bombing those poor people. But no, go ahead, Netanyahu hasn't had enough. So he's gonna endanger Israel and keep killing people.
Now, Cenk mentioned that 8,000 Palestinians have died as a result of Israel's airstrikes and bombardment. The number has increased. At least 8,525 Palestinians have died in the violence in Gaza. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, more than 21,500 civilians have been wounded since October 7th. The ministry reported, pushing hospitals to the brink of collapse. I also want to note something. I want to address something that keeps getting brought up by those who feel the need to either provide cover or defend Israel's ethnic cleansing of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. When we give you guys the number of civilians who have died, oftentimes the response to that is, no, don't pay attention to that. We must discredit that because the Palestinian Health Ministry is run by Hamas. I would just ask you all to please look back at recent instances of fighting between the IDF and Hamas in Gaza. Take a look at the death toll as it was reported by the Palestinian Health Ministry, and then compare it to what various humanitarian groups reported in regard, through their own analysis, through their own count, what they reported in regard to the death toll. Very similar. Very similar. So the idea that this is not credible is laughable to me when they have a history of reporting accurate numbers of civilian deaths. With that said, though,
I gotta add one thing to that.
Okay.
There's 6,500 specific names that the Palestinian Health Ministry released yesterday. These are the people that you killed. They're civilians. Here are their names. You still want to hide behind, we think maybe one bomb was in Israel. Maybe one bomb was in Israel. What about all the other bombs? You think there's no civilians killed in Gaza? Look, if you think that, you're so delusional that you really, you're not seeing straight.
Well, it's an admission, right? It is an admission. Because the civilian death toll is so high and it's so bad. It's an acknowledgement that it's bad. It's an acknowledgement that what the Israeli military is carrying out is the intentional targeting of civilians. You have a death toll this high. That's the reason why they're trying to deny it. Why would they deny it?
Yeah.
If they're actually carrying out these airstrikes, keeping in mind the civilians and how to prevent as many civilian deaths as possible, okay? The death toll wouldn't be this high. So they're trying to pretend as though this is all fake because they know in their heart of hearts they're not doing what it takes to prevent civilian deaths. And look, I'm not stupid. I understand that in the process of going after Hamas, it is a tragedy of war that some number of civilians are gonna get caught in the crossfire, they're gonna die. I get that. But look at these numbers, everyone. Look at these numbers. This is not a regular war. Anyone who tells me or anyone else that they are doing what it takes to protect civilians as they go after Hamas, I'm not stupid, and I don't like having my intelligence insulted by people who are literally carrying out ethnic cleansing in Gaza right now. And I'm gonna say it, it's ethnic cleansing. How can you deny it? With that said, I want you to actually listen to more of the context featuring Wolf Blitzer and the IDF spokesperson. This is Richard Hetch that he's talking to. The flippant answers to what Wolf Blitzer, who is a huge proponent of the Israeli government of Israel, just pay close attention to it because it tells you everything you need to know about the ideology and the mentality of the IDF as they're going after Hamas and protecting civilians as much as they can. Let's watch.
But even if that Hamas commander was there amidst all those Palestinian refugees who are in that Jabalia refugee camp, Israel still went ahead and dropped a bomb there, attempting to kill this Hamas commander, knowing that a lot of innocent civilians, men, women, and children, presumably would be killed. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's not what you're hearing, Wolf. We're focused on this commander, again, who you'll get more data who this man was, killed many Israelis. We're doing everything we can. It's a very complicated battle space. There could be infrastructure there. There could be tunnels there. We're still looking into it, and we'll give you more data as the hour moves ahead.
But you know that there are a lot of refugees, a lot of innocent civilians, men, women, and children in that refugee camp as well, right?
This is the tragedy of war, Wolf. I mean, as you know, we've been saying for days, move south. Civilians that are not involved with Hamas, please move south.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a little bit more information. You knew there were civilians there. You knew there were refugees, all sorts of refugees, but you decided to still drop a bomb on that refugee camp, attempting to kill the Hamas commander. By the way, was he killed?
I can't confirm yet. There'll be more updated. Yes, we know that he was killed.
That was quick. I mean, that was quick. I can't confirm it. Oh, yes, he was killed. Seems a little fishy. Hold on, Cenk. But one other thing I want to mention. He keeps saying, well, I mean, we keep telling them to go south, get out of the north, go south. We're gonna bomb the hell out of the north. And get a load of this. The Israeli Defense Forces said Tuesday, meaning today, that it was striking in all parts of the Gaza Strip, despite warning residents to move south for shelter. And by the way, we already knew that. We already knew they were doing that, okay? But it's good to have the confirmation from the IDF. So he justifies bombing a refugee camp with civilians, including children, justifies it by saying, well, we told them to go south. We told them to go south. I mean, it's complete and utter dog crap.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to use an analogy here that is apt, and I wish it weren't so. The Turkish government, or back then the Ottoman Empire, told Armenians to move south because they were gonna kill people in the north. And then they marched them south. And that's what we call the Armenian genocide today. You don't just move millions of people and then massacre them on the way. That's called a genocide. So when you kill 13 members of Hamas and 8,000 civilians, don't tell me that you're not trying to target civilians. It is totally not credible. It is obvious. I'm gonna say it. I don't care how many people in power catch feelings over it. I don't care. Our job is to be honest with you and bring you the truth. Israel is obviously targeting civilians on purpose. No military is this incompetent that you only kill 13 terrorists and 8,000 civilians. Are they the world's worst military? Oh, we just bungled again, and again we dropped bombs and killed thousands and thousands of civilians. Oops. Now, I don't believe you. The only people in the world that believe you are powerful people in Washington. Congratulations. Congratulations. You have them by your side. You have no one else. No one else believes that. Everyone knows you're killing the civilians on purpose. Yes, that's what terrorists do. I'm sorry that hurts your feelings, but it doesn't change facts. The facts are, there's no question in the world, Israel is killing those civilians on purpose.
Imagine losing Wolf Blitzer. Wolf Blitzer, I'm sorry, but the man who couldn't ask a follow-up question if his life depended on it, repeatedly asked the same question to that IDF spokesperson. 3 times he asked the same question. He could not, you lost Wolf Blitzer. Yeah. Imagine being so extreme in what you're carrying out that you have lost a member of the corporate media who has historically, throughout his entire career, provided cover for the war crimes that the IDF has committed. You lost him.
Yeah, and so let me tell you why and why that's so important. And this, guys, this is just as important as anything else I'm gonna tell you. Wolf Blitzer and Jake Tapper happen to be Jewish Americans, okay? And look at them doing the right thing. And look at them aggressively challenging the IDF and the Israeli government. This is not about religion. This is not about ethnicity. This is not about Jews. Do not ever, ever, ever make the mistake of thinking, this is about Jews or Jewish thing, etc. It is not. It is a power dynamic. Unfortunately for human beings, whoever's more powerful crushes those who are less powerful. I hate that fact about humanity. And yes, if the situation was reversed, the Palestinians would do it to the Israelis. But we're not asking for the situation to be reversed. We're asking for 2 states that make a peace deal. That could never happen. You're wrong. It's a 100% fact that it can happen. It already did happen. And not just in a faraway land, in Israel. They made a deal with their worst enemy, Egypt. And since then, they have had over 40 years of peace with Egypt. More war gets you more war. More death gets you more death. Peace gets you stability and an ally instead of an enemy. This isn't about Jews or Muslims. This is about power dynamics. And Israel right now is powerful, and in their arrogance, they think it doesn't matter if we kill them because we're powerful and we have America behind us and we could do anything we want. Well, you're wrong about that. And now you've lost Jews in America who are wonderful, decent people who are saying, no, not in my name, not in my name, do not do that. And you've lost other people and you've lost the whole world. Fire Netanyahu today. If Israel is a democracy, act like a democracy, get rid of this thug, this guy who revels in killing innocent civilians, and get a decent moral leader that makes a peace deal so that Israel can be safe and the Palestinians can have dignity and have their lives back.
We've got a lot more to get to on this topic, including how quickly this war is unfortunately expanding to other countries, including now Houthi rebels in Yemen, Syria, Lebanon. The list goes on and on. We have increased US military presence in the region. Lots to get to, don't miss it, we'll be right back.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk, Anna, Just Me, and Corgi Love. Thank you for joining, guys. Members make us possible. And so if you see us doing honest news, thank a member. All right, Anna.
All right, we've got more on the ongoing war and slaughter of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, but also what this means in regard to geopolitics and the possible expansion of this war. Let's get to it.
We witnessed the most vicious attacks on the north of Gaza. They were aerial bombardments, naval fire, and border fire all together. Every once in a while, the sky would turn into an orange color.
That was an aid worker in the Gaza Strip by the name of Mohammed Shalabi, describing the absolute terror that he and his family, along with Palestinian civilians in southern Gaza, have been experiencing as Israel engages in its invasion and bombardment north of the Strip. Now, I want to be clear that Israel has confirmed that they are also doing airstrikes in southern Gaza, where they told civilians to flee to. But what he was referring to here was the bombardment that was going on in northern Gaza. But as you're about to hear, those who listened to the IDF's orders and fled to southern Gaza also weren't safe. And that includes this aid worker and his family. Let's watch.
I was sitting with my kids on the sofa, and suddenly there was a huge explosion. A huge explosion. I've never heard this sound before. My child, my daughter, Misk, she started screaming and panically, hysterically crying. I rushed outside immediately to see what was happening. I opened the door, and I honestly could not see in front of me and could not breathe. My neighborhood was destroyed. One simple rocket, just one rocket that hit a neighbor's home without warning. At least 10 of my neighbors were killed, including children, and many others were injured. Now, more than 8,500 civilians have already died in Gaza, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry. About 62% of them happen to be women and children. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the intelligence failure, which led to the October 7th Hamas terrorist attacks in Israel, which triggered all of this because part of the intelligence failure, yes, happened as a result of the Israeli government and the IDF failing the Israeli people. But apparently the United States has a secret military base that was supposed to keep an eye on threats to the Israeli population. And they failed in this intelligence issue. And so I'm gonna tell you why in just a moment. But before I do, Cenk, go ahead.
So I just wanted to be clear. When you drop a bomb on a house and you kill 10 civilians, including their kids, that's terrorism. Period.
Not when Israel does it, though.
No, when Israel does it, it's terrorism. When Hamas does it, it's terrorism. When people with no power do it, unfortunately, it's still terrorism. When people with enormous power and giant governments like America do it, and we kill people, whichever government does it, I don't give a goddamn if they're our ally or if it's our government. When you target innocent civilians, as Israel is obviously doing now, and you kill them on purpose, that's terrorism. So if you're gonna use the word, let's use it accurately. So every bomb that Israel drops that drops on innocent civilians is an act of terrorism.
Funded by us, the United States government, using our weapons by American defense contractors. Congratulations, America. We are engaging in ethnic cleansing in the Gaza Strip. Now, with that said, I want to talk about this secretive US military base in Israel, which was supposed to help Israel foil terrorist plots by groups like Hamas, but obviously they failed. First of all, a little questionable that the American people can't know or weigh in on these secretive military bases, but this is how the United States military does their, basically does their strategy, of course, with the orders of the United States government. All happens without us knowing about it, and here's what The Intercept reported. Ken Klippenstein happens to be one of the reporters on this story. 2 months before Hamas attacked Israel, the Pentagon awarded a multi-million-dollar contract to build US troop facilities for a secret base it maintains deep within Israel's Negev desert, just 20 miles from Gaza. Codenamed Site 512, the long-standing US base is a radar facility that monitors the skies for missile attacks on Israel. So why did not only Israeli intelligence fail the Israeli people, but in this case, American intelligence failed the American people? I mean, we've got a military base in Israel that we didn't know about until now. What happened with this military base? Why was it so ineffective? Well, it turns out that they were hyper-focused on Iran. Totally focused on Iran.
Because you got to start a war over there. The defense contractors got billions of dollars to make. ExxonMobil has billions of dollars to make. I mean, Iran's not a nuclear power, so we could start a war in a way that is not going to get defense contractors' families killed because they don't have nukes and they can't reach us, is the logic. So let's just go kill them and make tons and tons of money killing these people. So that's why they're jonesing to start a war with Iran. The right-wingers, monsters, both in Israel and in America, can't wait to start this war so they could profit off the deaths of hundreds of thousands, maybe in this case, millions of civilians. That's the monsters that run our government.
Now, the secretive nature of this military base, Site 512, is also an issue and demonstrates the United States' willingness to engage in war and expand this war on behalf of the right-wing Israeli government. Though President Joe Biden and the White House insist that there are no plans to send US troops to Israel amid its war on Hamas, a secret US military presence in Israel already exists. And the government contracts and budget documents show it is evidently growing. The $35.8 million US troop facility, not publicly announced or previously reported, was obliquely referenced in an August 2nd contract announcement by the Pentagon, though the Defense Department has taken pains to obscure the site's true nature, describing it in other records merely as a classified worldwide project. Budget documents reveal that it is part of Site 512. And then what's amazing to me is they slipped. The Pentagon slipped for a minute, and then they immediately changed what they were saying when they realized, oh yeah, we're not supposed to let the American people know that they're funding secret military bases in Israel. Rare acknowledgement of the US military presence in Israel came in 2017, when the two countries inaugurated a military site that the US government-funded Voice of America deemed the first American military base on Israeli soil. They were bragging about it, they thought it was great. But a day later, the US military denied that it was an American base, insisting that it was merely a living facility for US service members working at an Israeli base.
And then you wonder why we think that the Pentagon lies and the IDF lies. So how brazen and obvious is that lie?
Exactly, but there's more. So according to The Intercept, Site 512 has previously been referred to as a cooperative security location, a destination that is intended to confer a low-cost, light footprint presence, but has been applied to bases that, as The Intercept has previously reported, can house as many as 1,000 troops. So the notion that the United States government has not been sending troops to that region, to Israel, to essentially be there when Israel decides they're going to expand this war, that they're going to put their foot on the gas pedal. They're there and they're ready and willing. And so that's really scary when you consider that we are providing cover for Netanyahu and everything he wants to do. The treatment of Palestinian civilians, the slaughter of Palestinian civilians has led to rage in the Arab world. And that has also led to anger and hostility toward Israel. And Israeli civilians are gonna end up suffering as a result of that. And it is awful and should be prevented. But instead of taking the measures to prevent it, the Biden administration is cheerleading what the Israeli government is doing along with the IDF. Now, as a result, Hamas's attack, as a result of Hamas's attack, the US put troop deployment on overdrive. Following the attack, the US doubled the number of fighter jets in the region and deployed 2 aircraft carriers off the coast of Israel. And even though Biden is clearly hawkish toward Iran to the point that it made our military blind to Hamas's plot, Republicans like Mitch McConnell are now accusing Biden of being weak on Israel, which is laughable to say the least. Now, the US military's involvement in this war has now expanded to fighting Yemen's Houthi rebels, who for the first time have actually admitted to conducting attacks against Israel. That includes drone strikes and missile strikes. The Houthis had been suspected of an attack earlier this month targeting Israel by sending missiles and drones over the crucial shipping lane of the Red Sea, an assault that saw the US Navy shoot down the projectiles. Okay, so now we've got a faction in Yemen involved in this war. We have various high-level members of the Israeli Defense Forces considering a preemptive war against Lebanon.
Insanity.
You have the United States on behalf of Israel conducting airstrikes in Syria. There is more and more talk about going after Iran, which of course is providing support to various terrorist groups, including Hezbollah and Hamas. This is expanding very quickly and it's incredibly dangerous. And we're all sitting around pretending like the actions of the Israeli government is completely justified. The slaughter of thousands of innocent Palestinian civilians is totally justified, and that this is totally fine. We're just barreling toward World War III. I don't say that lightly. I know that there's been all sorts of fear-mongering about World War III ever since Russia invaded Ukraine. Now, I'm genuinely concerned that World War III is a reality.
Okay, so let's take this one at a time. So Hamas attacks Israel. Everyone, almost all decent people, outraged at Hamas, outraged at what happened. Everybody's sympathy goes towards Israel. What has happened since then? Netanyahu has taken that sympathy and burned it to the ground. And now he said, okay, you think Hamas is bad? Wait till I kill 4 times as many civilians, and I haven't even gotten started yet. Now I'm going to do the ground invasion. I'm going to do a broader war, preemptive attack against Lebanon. Now the Yemen's involved in the war, and he's like, wait till you see the death and destruction that I commit. And now the whole world's yelling at Israel instead of Hamas. Can you play this any worse? Like if you can't see straight, then you can't see straight, right? But if you're being objective about this, Netanyahu has given away the moral high ground, has given away the sympathy that Israel had for the first time in a long time, right? And now is back to being considered the bad guys. Just terrible, terrible politics, the world's worst politics, right? I know he gets to stay in power a little longer, so this monster doesn't mind. Come on, Israel, come on, we got rid of Dick Cheney, come on. You got this, if you're a democracy, get rid of this guy. Now I'm going to tell you why he's an existential danger to Israel in a second. Go ahead, Ann.
I have to say something because, look, I remember the United States preemptive war into Iraq. I remember what we did in Afghanistan. And I also distinctly remember the two of us very aggressively calling out the war crimes that the United States was carrying out in those wars, okay? Remember what Chelsea Manning was imprisoned for? Remember what Chelsea Manning was in solitary confinement and tortured for? Chelsea Manning was the one who gave to WikiLeaks the proof that our military was doing drone strikes on civilians, okay? That was not only a war crime, it was something that was so aggressively condemned, and it should have been condemned. I'm happy it was condemned. So I just need someone to explain to me right now why it was justified, and I believe it was justified, to criticize what the US military was doing in those wars. But somehow we're supposed to pretend as though there is a double standard that provides cover for the IDF carrying out those types of war crimes and much, much more. Please explain that to me.
Yeah.
Why is Israel so special that they get to carry out whatever they want to carry out, and we who fund what they're doing need to just shut up and provide the money and the weapons and not say a word? Why? I want to know why.
Now, most important part, guys. Houthis firing drones and missiles that can go over 600 miles into Israel from the south. What the hell's Yemen doing in this war? That's because I'm here to deliver a message, and because American media is oftentimes so skewed, you're not seeing reality. I'm seeing media from all over the world, and what I'm here to report to you guys is, first of all, the entire world is enraged at what Israel's doing.
They're horrified, absolutely.
And horrified, okay? But on top of that, the Muslim world is this close to exploding. I know, for the warmongers in America and Israel, they'll think, oh yeah, Muslim savages, of course they're so violent. No, you're the ones killing them. You're the ones killing them at 4 times the rate of Hamas, and again, you're just getting started. So 1.6 billion Muslims cannot take it anymore. So Turkey is very pro-Israel historically and in this conflict. Unfortunately, lately they've been anti-Arab. It really, in the beginning, they were totally on Israel's side. They have flipped 100% now. And now Erdogan, bending to public pressure, is saying that Hamas is freedom fighters. You lost Turkey, that was a top ally of Israel, completely. 100% of the citizens are gone. They're like, no way we're gonna let you murder all those Muslims and turn a blind eye to it. Gone. Now Yemen, out of nowhere, they're Shia, they're not even Sunni. Those two factions normally clash. The Palestinians are Sunni largely. Yemen, the Houthis are Shia. And they're like, I don't care. I'm putting aside a battle that has been going on for 1,500 years between the Sunni and the Shia to say, you've got to stop killing those Muslims. We can't, we're all bleeding tears here. We can't take it anymore. If you kill one more Muslim in there, the whole world's gonna explode, okay? So you can be racist if you want to say, oh yeah, that's how Muslims are. You can be any kind of racist and bigot that you want. And again, guys, this doesn't have anything to do with Muslims, it doesn't have anything to do with Jews. It has to do with power dynamics. And Israel and America are abusing their power. They're abusing the whole world. And so now, finally, to the existential danger to Israel. Because apparently in America, that's the only country we care about. You could burn everything else to the ground, no one gives a damn.
Including our own country.
Okay, including, yeah, let alone American citizens, okay? Guys, if they attack from Yemen, from the south, and they attack from Iran in the north, and they attack from Lebanon and Syria, it's a different world. In the past, I would have said it doesn't matter. Israel blow them all out of the water, okay? God knows how many people they'll kill, but they kill them all, and there's no way you could take down Israel. Different war today, different situation entirely. Because now there's a thing called drones. Look at what the drones did to the mighty Russian army, the second biggest, most powerful army in the history of the world. And the drones obliterated them in Ukraine. And then they ran backwards towards Russia because of the drones. By the way, some of those were Turkish drones. A lot of them were Turkish drones. So America is not the only place that has drones anymore. Russia has drones, Ukraine has drones, Turkey has drones, Yemen has drones, Iran has more drones than you know what to do with. They launch those drones and start targeting civilians inside Israel. We have an existential danger. And Netanyahu is walking you right into it. You gotta get rid of him instantly. Otherwise, he's gonna start a war we cannot wind back. Once that war starts, it's a nightmare for the entire Middle East, and it's a nightmare for Israel. It is the only thing that is an existential threat to Israel. And Netanyahu keeps poking the bear like he's on top of the world and there's nothing anybody can do about it. And Biden empowers him to do that kind of arrogance day in and day out. If you love Israel, let alone the Palestinians, let alone the rest of the world, you have got to get Israel to turn around. If you don't turn around soon, this is gonna be a war like we've never seen in our lives, and Israel is going to be in a world of trouble.
When we come back from the break, I'll tell you how the Republican Party is planning to provide additional funding to Israel for their war, while basically cutting resources from the American people. That and more coming right up.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna and Shanna Krabi and Abdullah Gutali. Thank you guys. And thank you to everyone who looks out for the community, including Mondo Lustraka and the great Mandini. They gifted memberships to other people in the community. Thank you guys. You can join through the join button below on YouTube or tyt.com/join. And I'm gonna read only one comment here. YouTube member David Morris wrote, and I think Anna's been excellent on this whole issue, really shown her journalistic chops. David, we appreciate
Thanks, David.
Yeah, you saying that. And we're trying really hard to be sympathetic to both sides and give you the news as it actually is, and not clouded by propaganda from either side.
Right.
So thank you for acknowledging that on Anna's
Yeah,
coverage.
I have to add something to that. I actually don't find it hard to be fair to both sides. Look, my moral foundation is clear, and civilian deaths on either side, anyone targeting civilians is wrong. It's not hard to condemn that at all. The other thing I want to just say is thank you for writing in with your positivity, because this is not an easy story to cover. It is difficult to cover it with a straight face. It is difficult not to start weeping while covering this story. So you guys keep us strong when you give us that validation. So I just want to thank you for doing that for us. It means a lot. Okay, with that said, let's move on.
Yep.
House Republicans are considering legislation that would cut resources for the American people in order to provide more military funding to Israel's government as they annihilate Palestinian civilians in the Gaza Strip. Now, the resources would essentially help the IRS ensure that millionaire tax dodgers are no longer able to dodge paying their taxes. But House Republicans aren't in favor of that kind of funding, so they want to cut it. The legislation released by the House Rules Committee calls for approving roughly $14 billion, primarily in military aid to Israel, and cutting about the same amount from the IRS budget. Now let's hold up for a second, because some of you might be thinking, no one likes the IRS. And I can understand why you might feel that way. The IRS in recent years has mostly focused its efforts on auditing individuals that are far more affordable to audit, if you will. So if you are a low income earner and there's some issue with your taxes, you're likely to get audited by the IRS. Wealthy people who dodge their taxes typically don't get audited by the IRS because historically it has been gutted of resources thanks to the Republican Party. And so since it costs way more money to audit the complicated taxes of the wealthy elite, they have focused their energy on normal, everyday working people. Now, one of the good things that Biden did was he ensured that there was money allocated for the IRS in order to solve this problem. $80 billion. That $80 billion was part of the Inflation Reduction Act. Not only was it meant to hold the wealthy elite accountable, it was also meant to, bring revenue into the federal government. And on top of that, the IRS was gonna use those resources to offer a free tax filing service so ordinary Americans can file their taxes for free without paying a ton of money, having an accountant or CPA do it instead. Now, with that context in mind, let's talk about what House Republicans are doing. So the new House Speaker, a far right winger by the name of Mike Johnson, has said that this new expenditure for Israel must be covered by other spending reductions to avoid adding to the debt. Now, of course, anytime a Republican pretends to be concerned about the debt, I can't do anything other than roll my eyes, considering they were the first to sign off on massive tax cuts for the rich, which cost $2 trillion. With that said, President Biden has proposed giving Israel roughly $14 billion in additional military aid, but he did not call for offsetting that by cutting from other programs. And keep in mind, Biden has already agreed to cutting the $80 billion that was allocated for the IRS in order to raise the debt ceiling. That was part of the negotiations he engaged in with Kevin McCarthy. So that cut that funding from 80 billion to 60 billion. Now Republicans want to cut it more. And what's amazing about this story, guys, is that they're not even hiding what their intentions are here. They're making it very clear that they just want to protect the rich. So let me give you more from the reporting.
Yeah.
The legislation reflects the GOP's ongoing determination to undo the IRS expansion that Biden secured in 2022, which boosted the agency's funding by 80 billion to improve taxpayer services and pay for more enforcement actions against wealthy tax cheats. Now, every Democrat has said that they're against this proposal by Republicans, except for one. Who is it? Let me give you the details and get a load of the transparency in this statement. Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, a conservative Democrat, left the door open to supporting a bill that clawed back the money from the IRS. The IRS needs money for technological modernization, he said, but could do without money for increased tax enforcement on high income earners.
Wow.
It's amazing.
How's that for telling on yourself? How's that for saying I'm a bitch of the rich and I serve them like an effing servant? You lick their boots too, Joe Manchin? I bet you do. I bet you do. If a donor tells you, hey, I got a big fat check for you. Come here, little doggy. Joe Manchin's on the ground, licking their goddamn boots.
Cenk, sorry to interrupt you, but I have to add one other thing. Remember, we're not just talking about politicians looking out for their wealthy donors. We're also talking about politicians looking out for their wealthy selves. Because Joe Manchin makes a lot of money. I mean, he makes $500,000 a year alone on his family-run coal business.
Yeah, he owns a coal mine. He makes tons of money from that. He lives on a yacht. He literally lives on a yacht. And this guy's like, I'm a West Virginian. Are you? You live in a yacht in Washington, okay? I'm a moderate. And I got all my corporate propaganda in the world. I mean, cable news telling you I'm a moderate. What part of this is moderate? To help the rich? Cheat on their taxes? You think that's a moderate position? That's a disgusting, extremist, radical position that almost no one in the country agrees with. So go ahead, cable news, call him moderate one more time. Go ahead, New York Times, Washington Post, call him moderate one more time. In reality, over 80% of Americans want to raise taxes on the rich, and almost 99% want the rich to pay their taxes and not cheat on their taxes. But Joe Manchin, with a position of supported by approximately 1% of Americans, is called a moderate 24/7. Okay, this story is perfectly symbolic. First reason is the one we just mentioned. The second reason is the Republicans say, yeah, we'd love more war, funding more war. So it goes to all the money goes to the defense contractors, and then they funnel some of it back in bribes. I mean, campaign contributions back to us. We love it, but we won't fund that war that we actually, of course, are going to fund no matter what, unless you give us more tax breaks. But in this case, it's literally unless you allow our rich donors to cheat on their taxes, to cheat and rob the average American taxpayer. Is there a single Democrat in the country who is speaking with clarity on this issue? I mean, the Republicans are handing you a gift. They're saying we want the rich to cheat on their taxes and to rob the average American. And the Democrats are like, how do I fight back? I don't know. Jesus Christ, man. The Democratic Party is in shambles. Is there not one strong Democrat that is ready to level these Republicans?
No.
And no, there is one, it's empirical, none of them, totally useless. And second of all, part of the reason they're neutered is, but Joe Manchin is one of our frickin' colleagues, and it would be impolite to a colleague, so we're all sitting there groveling and doing goddamn nothing to fight back.
There are few things as shameful in this country than the Democratic Party, and
that's in a story.
Their weakness, which honestly, increasingly, I really question whether it's weakness. Anyway, with that said, I just want to add one final note to this story that's really important, because the notion that gutting the IRS with the resources necessary to hold wealthy tax cheats accountable is gonna offset the costs of sending $14 billion to Israel, it's laughable. Because remember, the whole point is to claw back money from the tax cheats that have been getting away with not paying their taxes, okay? Let me give you one number, although this is an underestimate. We did a story about this last week that showed just how much money the IRS has already raked in from these tax cheats, thanks to the resources that were allocated to them. Let's go to the last graphic here. Using the IRS funding to offset the Israel aid might not actually save money. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office has estimated in 2022 that the $80 billion IRS expansion would cut the deficit by more than $100 billion by improving collections and enforcement.
That means that it would raise not 100 billion, it would raise 180 billion to reduce the deficit by 100 billion. I have stats in my book that show you that actually the IRS sometimes gets $24 back for every dollar it spends on enforcement. And remember, all of that money is from tax cheats. People who are super wealthy, but cheating on their taxes anyway, because they want you to pay the taxes and not them. And they know the IRS will crush you because the Republicans and Joe Manchin empowered them to crush the working poor, but to leave their beloved rich alone. Now, so in the middle of the story, Anna told you how sick she is of the Democratic Party. Now, in the midst of a story about how the Republicans are the worst, why? Because no one in the Democratic Party will fight for us. We can't find one single person to fight for us. The Republicans are the worst of the worst, and they scream it from the rooftops. And this is a layup, this is a gimme, this is the easiest thing in the world. And yet we still can't find one Democrat with courage. Just one with courage to fight back against Republicans. No, they all lay down, and they think it's sophisticated to be cowards and to not fight back against these monsters. Give me one strong Democrat and we'll run these guys out of town. But no, the media and politicians in Washington say the Democrats should be weak, they should be servile, they should sit at the feet of the Republicans and never challenge them. God damn it, fight! Fight for the average American and you would be intensely popular. On top of everything else, all of these Democratic leaders are so stupid. Just one of you, just fight for the average American and you'll be the most popular person in America overnight. But no, oh yeah, but my donors won't like me. God damn it, your corruption disgusts me. Both parties.
When we come back for the second hour of the show, we're going to switch gears entirely and share some positive news with you, so stick around for that.
Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk, and I'll see you soon.